Okay, so see the dials in front of you? It looks very complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's actually not as complicated as you think it is. So, top left-hand corner.
This one.
That's it.
Speed.
So that's your airspeed. Yeah. So the next one after it is a turn indicator. So it just tells you which way you're up. So if you're in bad weather, you can see. The next one across is your altimeter, which will tell you how high you are. Now I'm going to drop down again. So the one that says L and R is literally another bank indicator. You've got an artificial compass in the middle. And then the one with the ones and the twos, that just tells you your rate of climb and descent.
Yeah.
Yeah? The two with the two needles above each other with the green bits on them, the green needles here.
Yeah.
These are navigation instruments. So you see those 8 instruments there, they're just repeated here for the co-pilot.
Yeah.
Your 4 instruments across the top, all right? So you've got, it says manifold pressure. So it's got 2 needles on it, and you've got 2 dials. And basically that's for your 4 engines. So you've got the manifold pressure on the left is for your 2 engines on the left. It's got a needle for each engine, and the same for the right too. And the next to RPM is how fast the engine is revving. And again, you'll have 2 needles for that covers your 4 engines. So it's not as complicated as it looks, is it? You've got another compass, another bank turn indicator, and basically an ammeter. Coming up here, oh sorry, you've got 2 radios there, and you've got 2 more by your elbows. Yeah. That's your 4 throttles for your 4 engines, and your mixtures for the same 4 engines, and cut-offs for your propeller speeds. Up the top here, this is your fire panel. So you've got 4 engines, and you've got 4 warning lights. Underneath here, you have little switches that relate to your fire extinguishers. So each engine has got 2 fire extinguishers. Yeah? These are called magneto switches. What you've got is you've got a set of spark plugs for each engine. And there are 2 spark plugs for every engine, which is different to what you'd have in a car. And the idea is the engine is tuned to run with both spark plugs firing, but it can run with either firing. And what you do is you use these to test the circuits. They're on separate circuits, so you've got redundancy. These 4 are fuel cut-off switches for the 4 engines. Here you've got trim levers. Now that trims the plane that way, and basically it's linked for the 2 pilots. And then this one trims the plane that way. So although it looks very complicated, it's actually very simple. So if you did pull them, if you did move them, they would move together and they would turn together. And you've got rudder pedals at the bottom for your feet. And again, they would be linked. So the pilots can actually work in unison. Some of the controls in here would be very heavy, so it might actually take both of them to move them. However, it gets more complicated because you've got, oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you what this is a little scrolling list, and that is your pilot checklist.
Yeah.
If you went into a light aircraft, you would find a pilot would just have a flipped chart with a load of information on it.
Yeah.
In a modern airliner, it would be on a computer screen and they just scroll through a checklist.
Yeah.
When this plane was crewed in the war, you'd have the pilot and the second pilot, you'd have a radio operator, you'd have a navigator, and you'd have a flight engineer. So that's why you've only got simple flight engine instruments. The main work would be done by this guy back here. There would also be, later on in the war, another person stood here who would have an early radar system. You with me so far? Have I lost you completely?
Yeah.
Are you recording me?
Yeah.
Okay. This plane was originally built in 1943. So she was built in the Second World War as a Sunderland flying boat. So that would be a maritime patrol plane. She would go out into the Atlantic looking for U-boats, submarines, and would be out protecting the convoy. So as well as the 5 or 6 guys out here, there would also be a guy in a nose turret, another one in the tail turret, and maybe one in what they could call a dorsal turret. You'd also have guys that would be manning the bombing station. And I can show you that later on some of the diagrams, where there would be there's panels on the side of the plane that opened up and that allow depth charges or bombs to come out on racking and be dropped on the U-boats. So the crew would be anything from 9 to 12 people, and they would be airborne for anything from 10 to 12 hours. So there's also be a galley on board, kitchen for you guys. After the Second World War, she didn't do a lot during the Second World War because she was actually used for a special mission that didn't really happen. So she didn't get a lot of use during the Second World War. So she was a prime candidate to be converted as you see her now. So she's got, she's had the nose turret removed, and she's got a nice curved nose. The tail turret was removed as well. She's got a proper ending at the back. And she was used by a company, as we set her up here, called ANSA Airlines. And she was used to take passengers out to a place called Lord Howe Island, which is off the Australian coast by about 500 or 600 miles. After she finished work there, she was taken on by Antilles Airline. A guy called Blair would fly this plane, and he would take his wife on board, and his wife would sit there. His wife was called Maureen O'Hara. Do you know that name? She was an actress, Hollywood actress, red hair. There's a few films with John Wayne. She was actually his wife. When he died flying a different plane, she took over the airline and became the first American woman CEO of an airline.
Oh wow.
Not a pilot herself.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, where were we? Yes. So he actually bought this plane over because she was Irish originally. So came to Ireland, and they took some of her family flying, and then they came to Southampton and did flights, what they call pleasure flights. So they come and land on Southampton water and go out and take passengers for a flight round the Isle of Wight. And I had a gentleman here about a year ago, and he says, "Oh yeah, I've stood here before." He goes, "Oh, have you done the tour?" And he went, "No, I did the flight. I've stood here while the plane's been airborne." He said, "We went up for a 30-minute flight, but Captain Blair was having so much fun that we didn't land for 2 hours." Okay.
Yeah. Where are the lights?
In what way?
For, like the beacon lights and stuff.
That's a good question, which I don't know the right answer. I suspect there's somewhere down on the engineer's panel at the back, because it doesn't. Oh, there might be switches here. The plane obviously got added afterwards because things like the navigation instruments wouldn't have been applicable during the war. They wouldn't have had them. So. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So one mast trick for you. So one at a time. You can go first this time. Come stand up on here for me.
Big engines. Oh, can we go in here? Hawker Siddeley Harrier. Harrier, please ask at desk for access. Harrier. Oh my gosh. Mine's quite comfy. I found my airspeed. Oh, throttle on the left.
Your left and your right.
Yeah.
So your left hand goes on control.
Throttle.
You're going to need both hands, by the way. Put that there. Don't forget it, will you? Right. So your left hand goes on control.
Gonna go along. all the flight controls have been took out.